Good morning and welcome to the Innermost Podcast, where we explore, acknowledge, set right, and show gratitude for our deepest, most private inward thoughts, emotions, and experiences. As always, you can write to the show anonymously and share your thoughts, experiences, and or your stories at the Innermost Podcast at gmail.com. I'm your host, K-Joy, and welcome to the Innermost. Wow, it has been longer than I thought. I actually recorded, I believe, an episode maybe a few weeks ago, and I don't know, somehow I don't know if I got distracted or busy or something going on. I just never uploaded it. But I do apologize for just ghosting my listeners. I know I was looking at like the stats of the podcast today, and I was just like, it's just kind of unfair to have so many supporters and listeners and just to kind of disappear. I don't have a defense for that. I will just tell you that I have not found a way to yet balance like life, career, and being a wife and motherhood and podcasts, which is funny because of all of the different things. The podcast is like the one thing that's for me and closest to my heart, and it's just so telling that it will be the thing that just kind of falls by the wayside, because that's kind of like reminiscent of like my behavior and just in life in general, and just I'm trying to identify a lot of my different behaviors, and like I said, that's kind of telling of the things that I hold nearest or dearest to me, that's personal to me, that's for me. I usually first sacrifice those things for the sake of things that I wouldn't say just seems to be priority, that are priority, but I just really need to find a way to manage. Like, for me, this is a self-care. This is my thing. You know what I mean? Like, and it's crazy because for as long as I can remember, I've been like a journaler. I've always journaled my thoughts and emotions, and when I started the podcast, it just kind of filled that space where it was like, okay, I'm going from like having to write down my thoughts in secret and in silence, and now it's like it is a way of me kind of finding my voice and being able to speak my thoughts. So I just want to kind of preface this episode by just saying I'm sorry for just disappearing. I usually have an outline of like the episode in which direction I kind of want to go in. I usually like to hit on like, current events and things of that nature, just because I'm usually so into that. But given that I really had to throw myself back into this podcast and just it's more of a vulnerable approach than the usual like structure or trying to find structure. I feel like I'll have the time this summer to kind of revamp and restructure kind of the episodes and the show of the podcast. But for today, I just feel the need to just be. And that is not always easy for me. I feel like I've just been doing a lot of reflection, and I think I just want to express from the heart more than anything. I've mentioned several times on different episodes that I am an educator, so I am off for the next couple of months. And it's a trip because, normally people on the outside looking in who are not educators, they have this idea of like, oh, you're lucky you're off work and, you get to do whatever. I mean, being an educator is so draining and so exhausting until it is like when you are finally off, you are just trying to regroup. It's in your mind, you wish you had the energy to just go and do and accomplish. And really, all I've been is just tired, like just completely exhausted. And really just trying to identify, okay, what is this season like for me? This will be the first break that I'm actually on break. Every other summer break, I've had to complete like TPAs, etc., whatever. And ironically enough, I will actually be going to a professional development conference this summer. So I'm still, in a sense, just trying to better myself in the career. But it's a lot, and you give a lot and you pour a lot, and if you're a teacher mom, you do it. I wouldn't even say double, triple, multiply by it's multiplied. So I've just been kind of dealing with self and all the things that I've pushed aside and worked through. And what I realize is, I can't sit still, when I'm trying to read in peace, when I'm trying to do something, I'm still in like this go mode. The last couple of days, I planned out my whole social study curriculum for the whole school year, with dates and schedules of tests and everything. And we haven't even been out of school a week yet. And so it's just like, I just cannot sit still. My mind is just constantly going, and my emotions are just everywhere, which leads me to this thought that I've just been wrestling with the last, I don't know, day and a half or a couple of days, is that those strong people, I wouldn't even say strong people, the people who I've always known myself to be in a position of listening to others and trying to, I don't even know if it's comfort, but just like be an ear, be available. And that's pretty much been my relationship. Like in all of my relationships, I've pretty much been the person that people come to just like express their deeper emotions. But something that I'm realizing is that, and I've been realizing this for some years now, is that I can handle when people around me are like going through and spinning out of control, and I can handle it, I can take it, I can be there. But what I notice is I don't have anyone around me for the moments when I feel like I'm spinning out of control, or when I feel like I just need to express and it's not pretty and it's out of character, or maybe it's not out of character, but it's out of character for what's expected of me. And it's emotional, and it doesn't make sense, and it's scattered and it's everywhere. And I just been wrestling with the idea of like, where does that person go? Where do the people like that go? Where do we go? Because from my experience, to be available for people who are going through that, you You answer the phone at any time, any moment. You make space for that, But when you're a person who are trying to respect the boundaries of others, and you are not as forward coming, and it's not as easy for you to express, and you only get like this short window of courage to say, okay, I'm ready now, let me express. And when you present yourself, those opportunities are not available for you, and you just kind of crawl back into that space of dealing with those things internally, or writing in silence, or talking to a microphone in silence. Like, where do those people filter? And for some reason, like, when I was thinking this out, the parallel to that is, so often during the school year, I have, a classroom of, 28, 30 students with different personalities and different abilities and different just behaviors. And so often, so many different things will come up. It's unexpected. It may be in the middle of a lesson. It may be, right after a break. It may be whatever the case may be. Things come up. And I will stop my lesson. I don't know why that's so emotional for me. But I will stop my lesson, and I will pull that student to a safe space, usually like the ramp to my portable, and give them time to talk to me. And I will have something assigned. And my behavior management, or my classroom management, is set up from the start of the school year in such a way where my students know that me caring for them is a priority, and that they respect that enough until I can walk out of my classroom and trust them to keep working, because they understand that their peer needs me in that moment. And that it might be their day one day where they need me in that moment. And so they respect the system. And so many times, it's not planned. There's just stuff that needs to be dealt with. And yes, we are trying to get through a lesson. And yes, I am trying to meet a deadline. But there's nothing more important to me than the inner self first. Because at the end of the day, as an educator, you are trying to help foster and guide a whole person versus a curriculum. There's no magic to this. This is just, being human and caring for the inner man over, what you're trying to produce. And people say so often, like, the world has changed, time has changed. Back in the day, people were kinder. Back in the day, things were different. Health insurance, doctors were more about the person, this, that. The only thing that has changed is, in society, we've become more about production than about humans in relationship. And so I'm struggling with that because, hold on a second. You can go out, Levi, and watch TV in the living room. Go ahead. Okay. Sorry, my son was in here resting and he just woke up. And so, I wrestle with that because okay, the production is good, but now we'll be dealing with new things, right? Like they say, like loneliness is at an all-time high, and all these, so many different things. And so I think like these last couple of days of being off work, I'm in this space of needing to just like shed and breathe from all of the moments of like go. And what I'm realizing is that although I'm dealing with children, that need to just breathe or to just talk to somebody, like that's a human need, and that doesn't just cut off. But for people who are in this position where you are the one who often like are there or listen, where do you go? Because I haven't found my space. I don't know. And, you know, I've been married going on 18 years now. And I'm in this space where I try to express these things, but I'm also in this place where I don't want to be a burden. Like, I don't want my emotions and my stress and all the things to be a burden. So it's like you just kind of bottle it up and keep trucking. What sucks even more is that my faith has sustained me my entire life. And like where I am now, I don't feel like my faith is just as true and just as real, but I don't feel like the effect is the same in this place. And I don't think it's a season. I think it's just maybe maturity. It's you know, it's balancing all the things. It's like, you know, raising a family and all the things that I mentioned. And so surely I can't be the only person on this earth like that feels this way. I think what's more frustrating is that not a lot of people can express that truth. Like, it's one of the reasons why I really I get annoyed by social media. Not even really so much social media, Instagram. Like, Instagram is a platform that is more of like snapshots and pretty images, and sometimes it's like really high or really low. And I don't think it's a clear depiction of life. And what I feel like it does is that it takes away the human appetite for reality or truth. And what I mean by that is I feel like when and I don't know, maybe it's me, maybe I'm just too much, maybe my emotions are too deep, maybe they're too consuming, maybe they're too unhealthy to be able to have like a discussion with people. Maybe, you know, maybe it's just those things that only you could take to the Lord. Maybe they're too open. I don't know what the case may be, but the reaction that I get from people when I open up, and it's usually not nearly as heavy as what people share with me on the scale of like, you know, instances and experiences. And I can sit and listen to people and not flinch. But when I get in a space where I'm expressing myself, like maybe I express wrong. I don't know. I get like, you know, like this shortness, like I gotta go. Like I don't have time. I get like this resistance, this anger, this fear, this, I don't know what it is, but I'm trying to figure out unapologetically what that is. And I just wonder, like, do is there any human being that can relate to what I'm saying? Like, is there anyone that understands, you know what I mean? Like, what I feel? Like, sometimes I am just amazed at my students and their ability to just raw and uncut, say what they feel and express it. And sometimes we overlook it like, oh, they're just kids or whatever. But it's a trip, because even in the Word of God, it talks about like coming to the Lord like children, because that's something that they have that over time, like, do we lose? Do we tuck it away? Do we hide it? I don't know. But I really spent all of last night feeling like there isn't a space for me on this earth. The only place I feel comfortable is in the classroom or writing, or podcasts, like where I can freely express. Like, is that a crime? Is that toxic? Is that, like, all of these labels that are out there, it's like people are just slapping things on there. And I, even in my practice, even in my profession as an educator, when I am given a file on a student and it says this student has this, that, or the other, or the needs are this, that, or the other, or the challenges are this, that, or the other, right? I look at that as almost a manual in case there is a rough day. Like, okay, this is the foundation of it. How do I build from there? Not, all right, don't go here. Don't touch this area. You have to learn how to maneuver in those spaces. And in relationships, what I'm learning is not everyone feels that way. People are not trying to learn how to maneuver in those spaces because maybe they feel like it's too much. Maybe they feel like they don't have time for it. It's too exhausting. But how can you ever extend the opportunity if you are not trying to? It's almost like physical therapy, right? Like you're treating the area that's limited. And if relationships are there to build and supposed to be like lifelong, how can you maintain it without going into the tender areas and trying to, okay, let's go in this space. It's uncomfortable, but I trust you as a person. And instead of me meeting you with agitation and fear and aggression and defensiveness, I want to meet you with an ear so that I can understand what makes this place tender. How can we operate in this space without me making it hurt? How do I treat this area with the least amount of pain and resistance? But, and I get this from my dog. My dog is a Belgian Malinois. He can eat your face off. But this animal trusts me. And he has this wound. He kept like agitating this wound, like this scab area, till it was raw. And I knew he trusts me, but I also knew that there was a limit, right? That if he felt at any point that trust was broken, that he would feel uncomfortable. And so I would build that trust. I would, take care of that wound and spray it with peroxide and treat it. And I had this alcohol pad, and I was like, man, this is going to hurt him more than the peroxide, and he's not going to like it, and he might react to it. And he allowed me to get He allows me to get around the wound, to touch it, to get close because he has trust. But there's also an amount of resistance because his demeanor, his tail, his, it's more of like a stiffness. Like, all right, I'll let you in there, but don't, be gentle. Recognize that this is a wound. And so I approached it as such. But when I needed to go in there with the alcohol pad, I'm like, all right, he's not going to like this. And I tried to do it slowly. I let him smell the alcohol pad so he can know, like, this is different than before. And he allowed me to get near it, and I could tell it burned and it irritated him. And I just kind of like, blew it and gave him space. And when I took it off, he let me do it enough. When I took it off and I went to look at it again, he kind of like turned his head as if to not bite me, but to nip at my hand to let me know, like, hey, I don't like that. And he had never done that any time before I treated that wound. But that was letting me know, like, okay, I'm not comfortable with that. Like, I'm okay with you treating it, but I don't like this doesn't feel good. And that's fine. And so it's no different in like relationships. But what I can't wrap my head around is that everything is so fast paced and production driven, and we just need the cute picture and we just need the cute moment, and no one has the time or the space to deal or to be there unless someone is being there for you. Like, wounds, relationship things I feel like are going untreated, and maybe it's just me. Maybe it is me. I am open to the idea that I am the problem. I'm open to that. That I'm too much. That my approach is not normal. I'm open to that. But when I open up myself to that idea, the problem with that becomes, then I am now doubting my creation, myself, my being, my core of who I am as a person. And surely I was not created to completely not fit in this life. So how do you deal with that? I don't know. Anyways, those are just some thoughts that I'm thinking and wrestling with and trying to understand. And my conversations, I feel like I don't have the relationships that I would have or that I desire to have because my appetite for conversation is different. I prefer the real things versus gossiping about people in their life. Like, I would rather discuss real things, and I'm not a real, like, in what's popular, what's considered pleasing and popular, and comfortable, I don't fit that. And so my relationship opportunities are limited because of it. And not to mention that I usually like to be alone, and maybe it's because of it. I don't know. But it's funny because I ran into this article that while I was thinking through all of these things and ideas, I ran into this article, and it says, why do I like being alone? 15 possible reasons. And I won't go through all the details, but I'll just kind of hit on the main, like, top 15 reasons. The subtopics or titles of it. 1 second. My little Levi just walked out. So it says, number 1, you're an introvert. Number 2, you enjoy your own company. Number 3, you want complete independence. Number 4, you value privacy. Oh, that is a huge one for me. And I think even like trust, because I've had many experiences where I am, because I can be so open and vulnerable and expressive, I often become the topic of, like, you know how people gossip about people? I'm the person that's being gossiped about. And that is not a good feeling. And it makes you feel like you can't share or express or so many different things. Number 5, you're most productive when you're alone. Number 6, you're protecting your energy. Number 7, social settings make you nervous. Number 8, you have avoidant attachment style. Number 9, your goals don't align with your peers. Number 10, that was a huge one. Just being married so young, with kids so young, like for so long, you know, my life was different than friends and people that I knew, you know, when they were young and at that time in their life. And there was just a lack of alignment and understanding for my responsibility and obligations, you know, versus theirs. And it was like, it felt like not just isolation, but almost like a negative, just not just not being a part of, you know, just being disbanded, or just like not a part of, just, I can't even find the word to express that. All right, number 10, you don't want to settle for superficial connections. Oh, that's a huge one, right? Like, I don't need 15 people around me just to be like, just for short talk, small talk, or just random things. Like, I don't want, like, I need genuine, deeper relationships. And is that even existent anymore? like, do people even, I don't know. Anyway, you're an empath. I've been told that before, and I'm sure it's true. I agree with that. You, number 12, you are breaking the habit of people pleasing. Oh, my whole past year has been, or I would say a couple of years now, has been identifying the fact that I have lived my relationships, and maybe that's why I've lost like nearly all of my relationships. They were all based on people pleasing. Like, as long as I was available, like I said, you know, and there to please the crowd, and it was okay. And once I realized, like, you can't please people, like, girl, please yourself. I realized it was a lonely road then. So I want to read this one. You're breaking the habit of people pleasing. It says, if you have a tendency to change yourself to fit with others, you may choose solitude to break free from people pleasing behaviors. So many times. Oh my God. I spent so many years just assessing myself based on the criticism of others to try to make them feel comfortable. And I'm like, God damn. And sorry, Lord, forgive me. But good Lord, like, how much do I need to change in order for people to feel comfortable with me, and realizing that I could never change enough? Like, why do I continue to assess myself and criticize myself based on other people's criticisms when it's never enough? So I just decided, like, no, that's not going to work. Time alone allows you to focus on your own needs and values. By spending time alone, you can reconnect your true self and learn to set healthier boundaries in your relationships. And boy, when I started setting boundaries, it was like, and it's okay. Because now that I think about it, my relationships were based on people pleasing. When I started setting boundaries, I had came to the mindset that if my relationships begin to fall apart because I no longer people please, then that's okay. Because they initially were based on people pleasing. And I was changing my life. And that I no longer wanted, if people could not adjust to the boundaries, and if I weren't good enough as I am without being a people pleaser, then that relationship was null. It was void. There's no reason to carry on with it. All right, number 13. You feel safest at home. I am such a homebody. Number 14. You need time for self-reflection and growth. Self-reflection is like, sometimes I have to pull myself out of that. And growth, like, man, the amount, like, what is the point of living if you're, like, without growth? This is just me thinking. I can't judge how other people live their life and what they think. But for me, if growth is not involved, if personal growth is not involved, I don't see the point of this life. Like, are we just getting older just for the hell of it? Like, you know, what is this? Number 15, you appreciate creative freedom. You know, it was something that I noticed is that I'm so I'm so fun and creative and funny. And when I started to just like realize that I no longer wanted to be a people pleaser and just identify my relationships, I started to realize that I wasn't that. I was more of that fun and funny creative person alone when I was able to just be with myself. I didn't see that part of me, those characteristics and attributes within those relationships. And I wonder, like, why doesn't that not come out in those relationships? And I didn't wonder it until, like, I honestly started teaching and getting around, you know, different people where I was my self, my new and improved, my newly developed self. And it was like, dang, this is just who I am as a person, and it's okay, and it's acceptable, and it's received, it is appreciated. And then I'll go back to other spaces, and it's just like, one thing that I realized, and I think I'm going to end it here, is that what's hard about like older or seasoned relationships is that people usually already have a perception of you. And once you start to step outside of their perception of you and you no longer meet the idea of who they have said you are or perceived you to be, then you kind of become a target or receive a lot of like flack for it. And the opportunity for growth and change and evolvement become limited in those spaces. And honestly, I think we're going to end that there today. I thank you so much for taking your valuable time to hang out with me, to address some of my deepest thoughts, some of my opinions that often only reside in the innermost. It has truly been a wonderful pleasure to host you today. I would love to receive just your feedback and stories and exchanges of experiences and just your thoughts, especially if you are listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts. There's a space for you to leave comments and reviews, or you can send an email to the Innermost Podcast at gmail.com. I'm just realizing and just learning that, when you grow up in communities and spaces of trauma and people who have not dived into their own personal development, that you become accustomed to shoving yourself into a tight space to make everyone else feel comfortable, and you become used to that behavior. And so when you start to come out of it and blossom, it's often uncomfortable. And it's uncomfortable for people who are used to you just stuffing yourself in tight spaces to make them feel comfortable. I don't know where this life will lead. Tomorrow is never promised. But while you're here, you have a voice, you have a heart, you have space to breathe and to love. And I just hope we all find the spaces where we can do that unapologetically, freely, peacefully. I hope you find enough motivation to carry you through this week. Take care. Never abandon your innermost thoughts, opinions, and your being. God bless.